I'm not sure the specifics on when he got started. I just know that he's been involved with sports his whole life, grew up playing every sport you can imagine. And I think it's just once he got to where he couldn't play the sport as well, he wanted to stay in it and find a way to give back and to a sport and to a thing that gave so much to him in his life. I would say that my papa saw himself as a mentor to the younger officials that were getting into it, whether it be softball or baseball or football. My papa took pride in teaching officiating to all the young officials, and that was really into his later years. I think that's what he took pride in the most, was seeing young people become successful in officiating and retaining officials in the area. Just looking back at how he was, I would say just to always put the kids first and know that you're there to help a game go smoothly and to make the experience best for the kids. Stay level-headed with the coaches that might, come at you hard or question you. Always have an answer and treat them with respect, either if they give it to you or not. I'm not sure the most memorable moment that my papa had officiating, but if I had to say, it would be all the relationships and all the places he got to go and all the people that he got to meet and form lifelong bonds with. I think he valued all of his national trips. They were a good way to bond with his fellow officials, but also with his wife and his kids. Anaheim and Reno, and I've been to Texas, somewhere in Washington. I mean, it took him, and my grandma tagged along, and it took them on a lot of trips. My mom, growing up, said that she didn't know what a vacation was. She just thought that softball was her vacation, Instead of going to the beach, they were going to a tournament in South Carolina or down in Florida or whatnot. The guys that he enjoyed officiating with, I would think Tiny Latham would be one. My papa and Lindy, they'd go on national trips for softball with Tiny and his wife Jackie, and I think they always had a good time, so there was a good bond there. He also enjoyed officiating with Ray Hope, who's from the Phenix City area, and then also Levant Houston, who was one of his friends growing up, and he married my grandma's cousin, and so there was that bond. As far as in-game, I'm not sure what would be the most unusual, but I do know he umpired baseball and softball, officiated basketball, and was a football referee. But one time, just in the area that we live in, Phenix City, there was going to be a high school soccer game, and they didn't have any officials to do it, and it was last minute, so they called him, and he was able to get him and 3 other people to go call the game, and that was the first soccer game he ever saw, was the one that he had to officiate in. It was first and last, so that was probably pretty unusual for him. I think officiating helped influence other areas in his life, mainly with the fact that officials have to be level-headed. I think easy to approach and really good at explaining things. So I think he was able to take that into his career as a city councilman and as working as the Parks and Rec director and other jobs in Phenix City, that he was easy to approach, and when you approached him, he was going to go about it the right way. He was going to treat you fairly, and if there was a reason he did something, he was going to explain that. And I think the reason he got into officiating was to help others, and I think that's with every career that he held. He was always looking out for other people. It might have affected my grandma's life a little different. I know that one time they were shopping for a washer and dryer, and a guy called him and said, "Hey, I need my paycheck for this week's games," and instead of saying, "Hey, I'm getting a washer, I'll get it to you when I can," they left, got the guy's check, and then came back and bought the washer. I think he devoted a lot of time to the sports that he was officiating, but I don't think that ever took away from the time he spent with his family. He made sure to coach his son and youth football and be there for my mom's dancing recitals. And when there was a big tournament, they were usually in the car on the way with him. He was a deacon at Lakewood Baptist in Phenix City. So although officiating was something he did, he also made sure that all his other areas of life were showing balance as well. I think what my papa saw most gratifying with officiating was just seeing people happy, seeing the kids happy and grow in their love of the sport, and just being able to be a small part and making that experience enjoyable. When he was younger, he coached youth football, youth basketball, officiated every sport you could think of, and I think that was just his way of giving back to the younger generations. I don't really want to speak for my papa on what this award would mean to him, but I think he would be definitely honored. I know he's been inducted to a few different Hall of Fames. I know he's in the National Hall of Fame in Oklahoma City, but I think this one might mean a little more, since this is where his roots are. In Alabama, this is where all, the bulk of his friends made were in it, and most of the games and relationships are all in Alabama. So I think this one would be really near and dear to his heart.